Hala. Salamu alaikum. Kifalik. I trust you are good. I started this conversation, Jifa, this morning about gimme. And I'm explaining how the gimme is a problem. However you look at it, gimme is a problem. Gimme is a problem when you are a woman and you want your husband to fund everything for you. Gimme will make them tired of you. Gimme. He will be sick of you. At a point, he will start disrespecting you, as most of the women who've gone down the gimme route will tell you. When you are dependent on somebody, you become irritating because you are a source of stress, really. You are a source of stress. You are exhausting. Gimme. I mean, as a parent, when my children do gimme, it can be exhausting. And these are children I love with everything I have. Gimme is exhausting. Whoever does gimme stands the danger of either irritating a person or getting on their nerves or being taken advantage of. This is the bottom line. When you are gimme, people will take advantage of you. This morning, I was talking to you about the parents who choose to ask other people to fund their children's education, to do this for their children, to do this and do this for me. I am a widow. I get that all the time. There are many widows who are also out and about doing stuff. I'm a single woman. Many single women who are doing whatever. My husband. Many wives who have understood this thing and are now flipping the coin. And I want to introduce you to that. There is a power on all levels when an adult is responsible for yourself. An adult must be agentic. And in order to be agentic, you must be willing to pay the buck for the things that you need. Believe me. One of the main ways in which you are agentic is when you are self-funded. When you don't rely on another adult to pay for anything, and so that adult does not get a say in what you do. Yeah. I was talking earlier about the aid culture in some of these African countries and how the aid culture has affected us. And I gave you a very specific example from Ghana. And many people were shocked by that example. You couldn't believe it in the earlier video. Yes. See, a country which does not want to run its affairs and wants to use aid to run its affairs, to manage its books. A country who wants their economy to be run by aid is an economy which is not stable. It's an economy which is controlled by other factors. Most of these African countries have got our economies very volatile because of this behavior of ours. Other people are so loud in our affairs. Why? Because we always ask other people to fund our affairs. We ask these other people to give us money. Gimme. And if a country goes gimme in, we come back to the same thing. They lose franchise. Your sovereignty is lost. And other people dictate and tell you what to do. And you are a toy in your own life. It happens in countries. It happens in individuals' lives too. If you are somebody who has siblings and you depend on your siblings to do and to fund and to whatever, very soon even your younger siblings will begin to behave like your parents. They'll tell you what to do because you don't know how to run your affairs as an adult. And so those who are able to run your affairs for you will tell you what to do. Yeah, their nose will be in your everything. Yeah, nobody is a Father Christmas here in this life, unfortunately for you. But there are so many people who are adults but still have this expectation of life. And I'm like, I mean, how have we grown this old and not known this simple thing? When you rely on Father Christmas to buy things for you, he may or may not bring it. Full stop. If he brings it, he will bring the type he likes. When you are sitting and hoping and praying for Father Christmas, you are actually set up to fail and to be disappointed most of the time, because Father Christmas ain't coming. And if Father Christmas comes, he will bring the gifts he likes, and most of the time you may not like what he likes, and tough if you don't like it. Yeah. I was talking about benefits and the fact that benefits have done such a psychological damage to those of us, and especially the poorest of us. The benefits are able to actually affect those with a scarcity mindset more than anybody else. And yeah, the poorest of us are the ones who come with the scarcity mindset. Anybody who has lacked before tends to hoard. I was telling you my story with Christmas hoarding a few days ago. And yeah, that was an experience brought on by scarcity. And that scarcity mindset had me hoarding and buying the whole shop to take home just for Christmas. And so when you've been hungry before, when you have lacked before, your mind is susceptible to these games, because your brain has already experienced what lack looks like. And so your brain doesn't ever want to go there. And so it's so easy for your brain to get into the hoarding territory, because, you know, lack makes you want to hoard so that you never lack again, because you remember how horrific lack was. And so the poorest of us, when we go to these places where benefits exist, we are the ones grabbing left, right, and center without thinking. And so the poorest of us, unfortunately, are also the ones who grab the labels. They buy labels for themselves and they buy labels for their children. This lady sent me a message and said, Amma, the thing you said today, which struck me like a thunderbolt, was the labels we give our children. I have never thought that by taking benefits, I label my children. I'm like, really? In order for them to give you a benefit, they've got to label you, darling. They have. That's the prerequisite for getting the money. The first label is that you are poor. The second label is that you can't manage your affairs. Somebody has to tell you what to do. There are some of the benefits you have to go and sign. I don't know how much that has changed now, but it used to be that you had to, especially those who were on the job seekers one, every week you had to take how many jobs you had tried to get, and you had to write it down and take it to the benefits office, and they would check like a child. Did you apply for this job? You should go and apply for this one. And some of them were playing games, not wanting to get a job, were doing things like children, because that's what the system does to you. In fact, the only people who should rely on other people are children. And so if you've left your affairs such that people have to come to your aid, then you are like a child. And unfortunately for you, the people who interact with you will also start dealing with you like a child. Forget that one. Let's focus on the labels, because that's the bit I wanted to actually make sure that everybody understands. By claiming a benefit, you are actually putting the poor person's label on your forehead. Poor people are the ones who are giving benefits. You didn't know? Some of you were in my inbox screaming. Yeah, who else do you think gets benefit? Huh? It's for the poor and needy, my dear. Benefits are for the poor and needy. Social support are for those who can't cope and manage for whatever reason. Yeah. It is not for those who are able to manage their affairs, unfortunately. And so by taking the money, you have accepted the label. Again, I assumed some of these things would have been known, but in my experience now, I have come to know that a lot of us don't know these things. So these days, I try to highlight these things just to make sure that everybody gets it. You live in a government building, of course it will keep you in bondage. Those of you who live in that building, you are wards of the state. Listen to the term carefully. You are wards of the state. You are children of the state. No, you are not adults. You are wards of the state, children of the state. And so I want to be sure that most of us who apply for these things understand what it is we are applying for. There are times when you need it. I'm not contesting that. And when you need it, it will be stupid not to take it. But there are so many of us who don't need it. But so many of us who have come to think that it is the only way to be. You are the reasons why I'm speaking, you know. Those who are beginning to behave as if it is not possible for an adult to be responsible for your own affairs, that it's not possible for an adult to take care of yourself and your family, that as a man or as a woman, you need somebody else to feed your children for you, that you need somebody else to clothe your children for you. The kind of schools our children go to. You know, when you are going to state-funded school, you must attend schools within a certain catchment area. You know that's right. The better schools, they are not in the catchment area for majority of where we live. The better schools are somewhere else. And our children are not making it to these better schools. Hey, our children are not making it to the better schools. So what do you think is happening to our kids when they are not at the better schools? Our children are at the rubbish schools with rubbish funding, with rubbish teachers, with rubbish other children, with rubbish opportunities. And so these kids, when they go through school and they finish school, a lot of them finish school with no qualifications. A lot of them finish school with very little skills. A lot of them finish school with very few opportunities created. Most of the children who go to the better schools, they have leadership training courses that are running. Your child is not going for any leadership training course in Kuntumri Secondary School he attends, especially if you live in a deprived area. No, the schools in the deprived areas are often deprived. Catherine, schools in deprived areas are often deprived. It's a fact we cannot run away from. It is something we need to know. Schools in the areas which are not deprived are often not deprived. I am spitting sense. It is uncomfortable, but it is a truth we need to tell ourselves. Schools in some areas do not offer certain opportunities to certain children, and so those children will definitely miss out on certain opportunities. It's just simple. It is you who need to make some decisions about a lot of things, and one of the first decisions you need to be making, which is impactful, is a decision on where you live. There's a postcode lottery in most places. There is a postcode lottery in most places, my darling. Or then you are able to pay for private school, in which case they are looking for money, so don't care where you come from. But ordinarily, if you live in a postcode which is deprived, your children's outcomes are predetermined to an extent. It will take a phenomenal kid to override some of those things. And in fact, a lot of phenomenal kids become ordinary in places like that. In some places, ordinary kids are made phenomenal because of the provision and because of the environment. A lot of our children, especially those from my community, are still graduating secondary school neat. They are doing useless subjects that will not take them anywhere. And we will turn around and cry racism. But often, racism wears different colors. Racism has a different jacket. It has a different shoe. Racism is clothed in many, many, many things. Some of those things are self-inflicted. When we finish, we turn around and cry racism. No, the local comprehensive is able to do so much for you. Yes, the teachers there will probably try a little bit harder for Johnny Blue Eyes in some places. But in some places, in fact, the teachers will try better for Johnny Brown Eyes. Yes, I have worked in schools like that. I have worked in schools like that I chose to work in because a lot of the children were from my background and I wanted to fight to help them out. But there is only so much you can fight in a certain system. When you need the help, by all means, go for the help. As quickly as you can move on from the help, move on and shed the labels, shed the stickers. Move on and recover. Move on and recover. The poor mentality, oh my God. And it's an argument that I remember as a child listening to from the generation ahead of me. There was an auntie of mine in particular who made it her business to explain to people why they should stay on benefit. And she would do it based on the calculation of the minimum wage. And when she did her minimum wage calculation, it actually made sense for people who were earning minimum wage to not go to work and to take the benefit. But because of this woman in particular, many, many people who should have aspired to go beyond minimum wage did not. I know many people who should have tried better. They should have done more. They should have tried harder to overcome these things. But this woman was one of the people who had stayed in the community much longer than anybody else and made it her business. When new people arrived, she was quick to come and explain to you the benefit system and to explain to you what you could do to harness your enjoyment from the benefit system and to teach you. And I remember clearly when I first had my children that she had this conversation with me. And now that you have had children, especially when I had my second one, it makes no sense to pay £1,300 for childcare. Stay home. If you stay home and you claim this benefit and you claim this benefit, yaba, there you go. And this is where the problem is. The problem was me, a qualified professional who could go to work and change my family dynamics. Hearing this conversation from somebody who can be very, very, very convincing. And I know many people who succumbed. They succumbed not because they needed benefit. They succumbed because this woman made a convincing argument for them. And they thought that it was going to be a good idea to get on and stay. And many of those women, till this date, our youngest. So most of them are like mine. Our children don't earn, well, our children, unless they are in full-time education now, don't qualify for child benefit anymore. They don't qualify for any kind of benefit anymore. If you have a low mindset, you will stay there comfortably and not move. Your daughter has turned down to get admission into a school in Dulwich because you were outside the catchment area. 5 years later, she applied to the school and got into it because of excellent grades in GCSE. This time, they did not mention she was outside the catchment area because they only want the best students to keep them on top of, yeah, of course. Of course. Ange, I'm having this conversation because I am hoping to get quite a significant number of us to be privy to some of these conversations for the first time, because I do know that a lot of people from my community are not aware of this. There are schools and there are institutions. You hear me? There are places where children's well-being is fostered. There are places where talents are developed. There are places where opportunities are created. And not all schools are the same. Not all schools are the same. There are some schools who invest more in certain places, and so the products from those schools are different. When you are on benefits, there are certain things you must declare. There are certain things you cannot have. You cannot keep savings past a certain threshold. You cannot earn past a certain threshold. You cannot do this past it. All those things you cannot do are the things that will help you break free of poverty. When you are on certain benefits, the things that will make you break free of poverty, you cannot do them. You can't travel. You can't do this. You must be here for a certain number of time. You must do this. You must do this. You must not do this. And the things you cannot do are the things that will break you out of poverty. Take your time and have a look at all the restrictions when you are on benefits. You will finally understand why few people are able to break free. Because you don't want your savings to go past the threshold, so they will cut your benefit, you will end up spending money foolishly. And because you learn to spend money foolishly, you will not keep money. And you will not be able to have money available to do things that will break you from poverty. Oh, as for being pathological liars, of course, you have to tell tales in order to remain on these things, especially if you don't qualify really. You will have to pretend you are single when you are not single. You will have to pretend things. And you see, by pretending to be single when you are not single is how it gets in most people's mind anyway. And after a while, you begin to start thinking about things in very interesting ways that affect family dynamics in very particular ways. Look, some of these things are not as innocent as they look to people, you know. If the state is paying your rent, no one can visit you and stay there. Yes. There are conditions attached, and these conditions attached, if you mess with these conditions, they will keep you. The kind of houses you will be able to afford. And there are some councils who insist on particular postcodes when they are paying your benefits, your housing. Yeah. Some of them have particular properties that they have got on the books, and you've got to choose one of these properties. Whether the property is up your street or not, that's what's on offer. Well, the funny thing is, most of these properties are in deprived areas. They are in areas deprived of social amenities, including schools. including allied services. It is a jail. It's a prison sentence, Verlin, but most people don't realize that it's a prison sentence. And most of our people willingly sign themselves to these things and confine themselves to these things even when they shouldn't be. Most of us go playing with this fire. And when we burn, we come and cry. But I have come to know that most people don't understand what it is they sign up for, is why I am having these conversations. Benefits will ground you. It will concrete you down. You will not be able to shift out of it. And that's why people become career benefit takers sometimes, not because they need it, but because it's become an addiction. People used to have lavish properties. Now they have capped what you can get. So you are not living off the state, but still people don't get it. But you see, this has made it even worse. So before, you could have had good living accommodation on the social. At the moment, you can't. You can't. There are some people whose bedrooms, extra bedrooms, are becoming an issue. I knew people who had to leave when the bedroom tax thing came up. Oh, yeah. Daniel, look, these things are not half as innocent as some of our people think it is. Some of our people don't think consequences at all. We just jump in and we do these things. And then when the consequences come biting, we scream and shout and cry. Listen, if you are paying your full rent, you don't have a problem. You can go live on the moon if you want. Yes, when I bought my house, how many years ago, the first thing I asked is what school was within the vicinity. I chose this particular house because it was on the same street as an outstanding primary school. It was a Catholic primary school that I wanted to attend. When my son was 6 months, we went to the school and put his name down. And so when my son was going to school, he was in the school. Yes. My daughter joined him in the school. And it was actually mapped out that way in choosing that house because we also found out the kind of school, secondary school, that I would want my kids to go. And yes, I checked that the house was in the catchment area for Altrincham Grammar School. Yeah. I wanted to go to Altrincham Grammar for boys and for girls. And if we had stayed in Manchester, we probably would have still continued. Yes, the house was chosen with the kind of schools that I wanted in mind. You can't do that on council accommodation, sorry. You will have to take what they give you. By paying the premium, you give yourself some options. I'm trying to have this conversation here because I want you guys to continue these conversations around your dinner table. Yeah? I do want you to have these conversations with your brothers and sisters. I do want you to even have this conversation with your enemies on my behalf and ask them, have they really thought about how the system operates and how some of us, because of our cheap behaviors, end up putting ourselves in positions that will not benefit us. The schools your children go to will affect the grades your children are likely to get. There are certain schools that you go to that your grades are almost predetermined and your life outcomes are predetermined. So my year group in secondary school, we have a WhatsApp group. And I have been sitting there for the last how many years? I'm actually one of the last ones in that year group to be getting my doctorate. Most of them have done it ages before now. It is a regular thing in that year group. Congratulations, Dr. Whoever. This week, one of us was in the newspaper, or was it the week before? Every few weeks, there's somebody doing something with a research, whatever, or has done this. The secondary school I went to was very, very reputable for achieving certain outcomes. And yes, there are some of us who haven't done it yet. Most of us are actually still working through and trying to get. How is it that most of us are motivated to do it? It's because our friends have done it. It's because it's the norm. It's become the norm in that group. And so, yes, if you are in my year group in that place, when you get any opportunity to think, a master's will come to your mind for sure. A doctorate will cross your mind for sure. It is that sort of environment, and it will lead you a particular pathway. When we went to secondary school, we didn't actually think that, I didn't think it was that impactful. I was thinking recently, oh my God, because this one was in the news, and her name was Dr. Mrs. Dada. And I was thinking how many Dr. Mrs. there are in my class. How many Dr. this, and how many of this, and how many of that. And how did that come about? It came about by association in the school we went to, and the ethos that was actually drilled down our spines so early on. So early on. A school has a lot of impact, you know. Oh, no, no. Some of these cheap behaviors, you have to watch out for them, you know. The people who give these things entrap us into these things, and we don't realize what the traps are and where they take us. Yaba says, as I had to live off benefits during the recession, for the life of you, you don't know how some people cope. It was £65 a week. My God. And this was 10 years ago. I don't think it's £100 today. I don't think so. But you don't realize, most people don't realize, £100 a week is living in abject poverty. That's poor. You are very poor if you only command £100 a week. I cried though when I saw my pension. And I thought, oh damn, Amma, I need to get my act together, you know. Let me show you people so you can laugh. This is what they are showing me as my pension. Yes, this will make me a poor person, you know. Yes, I'll be poor. 99 quid a week. Yeah! Based on my contribution so far. Yes, I check the pension. I check the pension every time. I do. I check the pension every time. Because I want to know. Yes, you can top up. But honey, topping up doesn't make too much sense in my case. Did I take a picture of that one or did I not? Maybe I didn't take a picture of that one. They told me my best case scenario was like 130 a week. Yeah. I laughed. Let me show you again my forecast. It is very sad. I'm dying because most people haven't looked at it. Let me show you. I took the screenshot so I can use it to illustrate a point. My forecast based on me and the things that I have done will be £185, which is about double the basic state pension. That will give me £805 a month, less than £10,000 a year to live. Yeah. This is me who has been working since I was, 20. I have been contributing for the last how many years? It's peanuts now. It is bogus. But this is what is coming for a lot of us. And most people will not make 185. They won't. Why? Because most people have not kept up their national insurance payments. Most people were not even contributing in the early days when they started work. That is poverty right there. That is poverty. And no, this is better than average, you know. The average is the 96 pounds. Yes, by massaging and by doing the things that I do, they are projecting my forecast to be 185. And in fact, the person I paid to go and do this initial consultation came back to me and she was like, oh, wow, Amma, yours is beyond whatever. And I'm like, beyond what? Tell me the amount. 185 quid. Less than a blooming £1,000 a month. Huh? What will I buy? What will I? And if I didn't own my home and I was going to pay rent out of this stupid year money, you see why pensioners cannot turn on their electricity? You are a pensioner. You can't regulate your body temperature, but you must wear Wellington boots and go to sleep. Because some of us have not understood. And yes, some of you are sitting on some of these monies. You are not paying your national insurance contributions. You are not checking that they are paid. Some of you, the traps we are laying for ourselves, you know, it's quite scary, you know. But how can you pay rent? My tenants pay more than this in rent a month. My tenants, they pay me more than this a month in rent in Manchester for my home. So I couldn't afford to live in my home on this money. I couldn't afford my home. How can you use all your money to pay the rent and still have a deficit? Or what will you eat? How will you keep the water on? What about the temperature? There are so many poor people, poor pensioners who can't turn on their heating, especially this year, because it's gone beyond affordability. If you are on state benefits, I've told you, state pension is 96.16 or something stupid like that a month. A week. Blessing, how you doing? Glenda, how you doing? 99.60 a week. Less than £100 a week. £400 a month. Chibo. Buy a house, oh, pay for a house. So that at the last minute, at least the money you get will at least feed you. Like I said, I was lucky to be advised by those who understood this a long time ago. So me, I'm a textbook case. But even as a textbook case, this is my projection for you. Congratulations, Amma, you have done everything you possibly can. Here is poverty for you. But most people haven't even sat down to realize that there is poverty coming. Yeah, 7 years ago, they were talking to you about pensions. Yeah. My mom, when she was giving her pension projections, was not consolable. It was tough to console my mom. It was tough to console my mom. In the end, the only thing I said to my mom is that her top-up pension has to pay out. And my mom was like, what top-up pension? I'm like, you know the extra pension you took, aka my school fees, aka all the other things you had done to multi-skill me, aka the investment you had made in me is going to be the other pension pot that pays out. So don't worry. This pension pot will not disappoint you. This pension pot will pay out. Don't worry. That was the only thing that I could actually say to my mom at that point to console her. And majority of us will be in a worse state than my mom, because their generation, as much as pensions had failed, it would not have failed as badly as the pensions will fail when it is our turn. I mean, me as a teacher, stand in the classroom till 65. Which mad person will be suggesting this? How will I be teaching anybody's children at 65? Even the 60 was a stretch. Even 55K. 50. Whoa! And yes, these are the ones who work. Now go back and have a look at the ones who don't work. And go do the calculations. You will see that the decisions of your youth and the benefits you take in your youth is what will confine you to significant poverty in your old age too. You better get a private pension. You have to own your home fully. Make sure you've got some savings. We will be 90 before they will let us retire. At this stage, we will be shaking. We will be going to classrooms with Zimmer frames, trying to control rowdy teenagers. Yeah. I went to speak to somebody else. People think their pension is not taxable. And the person said to me, Amma, stop worrying about tax. Make sure your money is so large that when they deduct tax, what you need is less than what you get. And I'm like, that's true. Make sure that your earnings are so huge that after all the tax deductibles, you are still able to get more than enough for you. Hope asked me, so Amma, how do you avoid all this? And let me tell you, stage number one. Stage number one is for you to have a plan to own your home and to have it paid for fully before you retire. Some people started earlier. Me, I am hoping to finish my mortgage before I'm 50, because I was very lucky to get this information very early on. So we bought the house when I was very young on a 25-year mortgage, and we have done most of that 25 years now. We've almost done most of it. So very few years to go. Believe me, but the very first one is your home. To own your home and to have it paid for by the time you retire. That is a significant one, because rent or mortgages are killers when your income is low. 2, you want to have private pensions, if you can. That top up the state pensions. But you don't want all your money in pension pots, because these pensions, you don't always control what they will do. We don't even know whether some of them will pay out, and if they do pay out, on what terms they will pay out. So what you want to do is take private investments. So I was telling you about 2 pots that I had missold to me. It was sold to me. It was supposed to be for 10 years, and I discovered each one of them was 25 years too. At the moment, those pots are very important pots for my pension. Yes, you need private investments. And Yaba has hit 1, spend wisely. Those of you who need to increase your mortgage repayments, you better do. Especially those of you who've got interest-only mortgages. The interest-only mortgage payers. You better have a strategy, whatever the strategy needs to be. You better have a plan in place to own your home and to owe no rent. Yes, and you do want something to be paying you a regular income. Something. Be that something a business you run, be that a skill you do which pays you royalty. It does not matter what it is, but you do need something which will replace your income, at least. If you can do better than your income, even better. If you have rental properties, amazing, because they will pay you regularly. So this is what I did in my portfolio, really. The first one was to buy a house that was mortgaged. Whilst the mortgage was going, at first I was thinking of getting enough money to repay the mortgage early. When the first financial crisis hit and the interest rates went rock bottom, I went to see an IFA. And the person told me not to waste my money trying to repay the mortgage fast because, as he predicted, it would take 10 to 12 years before the interest rates will go up significantly enough. And by that 10 to 12 years, I could have used the money I would have used to pay early to buy secondary properties. So that's what we did. We bought 2 secondary properties. Those secondary properties are supposed to be rental properties, purely rental, so that if we are able to retire in one, and 2 of them are rented out and return an income. And especially if these properties are owned outright and we don't have any mortgages to pay on anything, then 1 will accommodate us and 2 will feed us. And so we took that advice. We did. And I'm so glad we did. I am so glad we did. When the person said it would take 10 to 12 years before the interest rate recovers and it gets to any point where it would make sense to repay your mortgage early, at first, I thought, does he know what he's talking about? And yeah, it's been 12 years, actually, almost 14 years since the financial crisis. Yeah, 14 years. This advice was in 2008. Here we are, 14 years later, is when the interest rates are threatening to recover. Most of us are screaming and shouting, and the investment advice he gave has proven to be bang on the money. If you can get investment properties, acquiring a shop to rent out, any property you can rent out so that it can return a regular income is good. But you see, in 2022, let me give you the best advice that I know. The best advice is for you to learn how to do some of these affiliate marketing and for you to sign contracts with companies who will pay you 30% of what a person buys and pays monthly. It's the monthly membership sites that make sense. So for example, if you were an affiliate for a platform which charges $100 and most of them pay between 15 to 30% a month, and they pay you $15 and you had 10 people who buy on this platform, you already have $150 a month, and it is recurring and it is continuous till these people cancel. And if you are smart enough to find platforms which are necessary, which people need, which people are not likely to leave behind, which people will continue to subscribe to, then you have your royalty payments going forward forever and ever and ever and ever. And when somebody drops off your membership, you find new people. And yes, somebody helped me about 3 years ago to understand how this is better than any kind of pension pot. Affiliates. When you don't do the work, you just sell. And yes, you sell platforms which are vital for services, platforms that people need. So when they buy the platforms on your affiliate link, you get your 15 to 30% for life on what they pay a month for the platform. Now that's where you win. That's where you win. I will leave you to go figure out what these platforms are. I will leave you to go research which ones fit your niche. I will leave you to negotiate your own contract with these people and for you to work out your earnings. But yeah, these platforms are amazing. So for me, there are some platforms that I use that I can never leave behind. Unlikely. If most people leave things behind because better things come, the people would have been on there for years anyway. And when there's a better thing, you strike a deal with a better thing and you start taking your thing. That's just you knowing who to represent. And for representing those to the right audiences, you don't have to do a thing. You don't have to do any IT behind anything. No. You just sit in places, you are giving your links, and then you promote your links. That's it. Class. Nothing else. Yes. I have been banging on this whole week about course creation. That's another of my big ones. I am teaching course creation and I'm banging on about course creation because you see, with these courses, when you have your courses set up and it's in a hosting place and it's secure, you can continue to sell that course till thy kingdom come. Actually, there are some people who die and their children continue to enjoy the sales from these courses. The Brian Tracy's of this world and some of the DVDs and things they did. It will continue to sell till thy kingdom come. What they do, I bought some Brian Tracy programs that were on DVD, CDs a few decades ago. And now I have seen that they have started hosting them as direct access on platforms. I'm like, damn, but it's the same thing. Some of these Brian Tracy things are more than a decade old. I don't know. That's how people are getting information, Yaba. Links. Nobody's going to any shop to buy anything now. People need website links, landing pages, links to take them to places where they can buy. That's it. Whether you are sharing it on WhatsApp or you are posting it to people or you are emailing it to people, it doesn't matter. But it's links. That's why I am still banging on and inviting so many of you to come and learn how to create courses with me. Because course creation is one of my biggest pension pots. My first course went on 2019. It is still selling. And I am still working on new courses and refining them. Of course, this is an advice I charge people for. I do financial planning with people, and yes, I charge people for them. And then occasionally I go mad and I come here and I throw these bangers. Those who get it, get it. Those who don't get it, there is not much I can do. Yeah, like I said, each person has to find what works for you in your niche. Identify what works and just do what works for you. Okay? Identify what works. Do what works. Whatever you do, find something and do what works. I'm giving all these ideas. Some people cannot do rental property because you have not given yourself enough time to be able to buy the property to rent. There are some people who just don't have the money to buy. There are some people, even though they command enough of the money to buy, the way they have set themselves up with some benefits and whatnot, you will not be able to get a mortgage. If you know that's your situation, no, we will not die. We will just start looking at alternative methods. That's why I am throwing so many options. Yes, some of you do need to look into creating courses. Yes. And what courses can I was showing you earlier today. This lady was in my inbox and says, Amma, I did not know that you can do courses in all these stupid things. Like, yes, you can. Right. If you need an IFA, please find a qualified one. Okay. Find a qualified one. Find a highly reputable one. Find one who knows what they're going to ask you to do. Because, you know, your success or otherwise will depend on which IFA you go to see. If they give you the right advice, you win. If they give you the wrong one, you are stew. I am sharing all these things, hoping that at some point, some of you will connect. And it will make sense to some of you. Don't judge my desktop. But look, parenting, computer, home improvement, all these things are places where people are creating courses, you know. Yeah, people are creating courses in some crazy things. Not all of those places are obvious to many people. Whatever you know, you are likely to be able to create a course for. And if you make your course good enough, somebody will probably pay you to take your course. And yes, I also showed you earlier today the amount of money that is actually in this area alone. My pension pot comes from here. By 2025, they say that this industry will be worth 325 billion US dollars. I want me a portion of that. This is how I intend not to worry too much about my stupid year pension calculation. Can you imagine? This stupid calculation they've given me. What would I use it for? So, Law Sigma, what will I use it for? Anyway, this conversation I'm having with you, these are the difficult conversations that I need us to be having in our private places, around our conversation tables. Ask people about the benefits they are claiming. Do they understand the implications of some of the decisions they are making? Do they know that staying on benefits, depending on what kind of benefits and whether your national insurance payments are kept up or not, it will affect their pensions? Do people know this? Chica. And if they know it, have they seen how much the state pension is? If you don't prepare, this will be your reality. You cannot afford it all. So I beg you, don't even do that. Don't do this to yourself. This is my advice to you. Start thinking about these things in your coconut. Start pondering where you live and ask yourself how that affects your children. Start thinking about the jobs you do and start asking yourself again, how does that affect your children and their life choices? Ask yourself, does your postcode affect you positively or negatively? What is to come is quite scary, but we don't think, we don't plan, we don't strategize, we just live blindly. And so a lot of sad things happen to us. We are casualties of a lot of events that could have been avoided if you thought. Some of you do need to go to the pension website. gov.co.uk allows you to check your pension. Yes, you can sign up to the government gateway. It's very easy to do with your national insurance and a few things, and you'll be set up. So you can go in and see. Those of you who owe tax, who owe national insurance, go. It will show you whether your national insurance payments are up to date or not. These things are all sitting there. And oh, let me give you a word of warning. It used to be that you could catch up and pay back anything you owed indefinitely. There is a new law which starts on the 1st of January, and it allows you only to catch up to 6 years back. So those of you who owe anything more than 6 years from now, if you don't go and pay before April 5th, you have forfeited. And it is going to affect how much money you will get. This 96 useless year amount, you can see that some of us won't even get 99 or 96, some useless year amount like that. That one is when you have kept all your payments up. You need to continue paying in order to get that. Some people need to hear bad news. Check your forecast. Go and see. It is available information. Check your forecast. Make sure you like what is on there. As soon as you start claiming it, your private pension will be cut down by tax. Please check with my private pension. I will have a look. When I am getting ready for retirement, I intend to go sit down with a proper qualified IFA to talk me through my best course of action. And that's the conversation. These are the projections for those who are working. Do you guys hear me? These are for the ones who are working. It's scary, Joe, for those who are working. How about those of you who are sitting on benefit? You. How the hell do you think you are going to feed in your old age? What have you checked how much money you will be entitled to? My friend and I was telling you about a friend of mine who has children the same age as mine. Got a letter through around April about the fact that her youngest child was not going to be qualified for child benefits unless she's staying in education. Her child has decided she's not staying in education, so there's no child benefit. And she was asking me, so Amma, so when these people say they are not paying any child benefit, what do they mean? I mean, what they mean is there's no money coming to your bank account, just as happened with your other children before. Because the money reduced, she thought that the money will reduce and stay. She didn't realize that when the kids are gone, the money is gone. Yes, when the children go beyond child benefits and the other benefits you claim because of the children, and these are not children, they are adults. No, they don't pay you child benefits with adult children who no longer live with you. The money goes down to zero. And she was like, hey, well, yes, so my man goes, hey, well, no money, no income. If you are lucky, they will pay your rent. Even then, my friend, when you work, I was showing somebody this recently and we were laughing. I think it was my husband. I got a letter from Barclays. Dear Mrs. Umuokpopopo, by the calculations of the money that comes into my bank account and leaves, most of it doesn't stay. It comes and goes. But Barclays receives most of my money in the UK now. And so they do some calculations and they sent me, you are pre-approved for 24,000, I think £500. And I'm like, oh, damn, good. Nice to, yes. There are some people who are pre-approved for finance based on a lot of interesting things, including their earnings, including the kind of cash flow in their bank accounts. Yeah. You want to be one of those people, you know. You do. And yes, no, you cannot be getting state funds. You must be getting some earnings for those. As Tony says, what amazes me in this country is it's made to make you owe all the time without disclosing the implications of your later life. Of course, if it suits you, they suit your life later. Of course, but that's the trap. And when you work at 16, you have to tell the employer you want to pay pension because the age, I think, is 21. And you want to teach your kids to get on quick as they can. This country has a lot of traps. The West has a lot of traps for those of us who are from elsewhere. And because these things don't exist where we are from, when we first see them, we grab, and don't even think of the implications. They are traps, baby. They are booby traps. Yes, they will land you and keep you in specific places that are not nice in the end. The money is a trap. Free money is one of the greatest traps. Isn't free money why most of us are pretending not to have men when we have men? And those of us who actually do have men, after pretending we don't have men for a while, we get used to pretending and we get rid of them. The family dynamics has definitely been influenced by a lot of this money that we fight over, the children money. Women get the children money, don't want to share the children money with men who are also not proud enough not to want children money. Sad. Men fight their women for children money. Charity money. Benevolence. Yeah. People buying cars on lease. All sorts of funny, interesting things go on. Yes, men are fighting their women for money which is supposed to be for their children. Who? Yes. A lot of divorces actually occur around this money. And this is money that is chicken change, really. It's not even significant money. No, chicken change. The man wants the chicken change. His wife wants the chicken change. Boom, boom, boom. Fight. Man goes, woman goes. Yeah, it's over chicken change. But I know too many stories of people whose marriages have broken because of this chicken change. There's nothing for free. Miss Mercy, there is nothing for free in this life indeed. You never own the thing, and every 3 years they give you a new one and you continue to ride. Again, if you are one who's lived your life, I mean, when my children have left, I may actually join a leasing scheme when I already have the money to buy a car whenever I want. I may join a leasing scheme because I would like the idea of changing my car every 6 months. I would have lived a hard life raising my kids. And so when they leave home, until I am not able to drive, if I can join a leasing scheme at that time, I will join one and change my car frequently because I will be an irresponsible old woman wanting to enjoy a little bit of flash out of the hard work that I have done. But you cannot do that without understanding the game. Yes, you must have money available to buy one if you need to, and you can't continue to lease. Yes. If you understand that you are living frivolously and there are no guarantees and you don't need any guarantees, then that's fine. But yes, you cannot be leasing cars in your early days when you don't have guarantees and foundations in place. So yes, the leasing thing, people do them who understand it and they are good. And there are some clowns who will join in and be flashing car every week on a lease and don't understand that to buy on a lease is a balloon payment at the end. And yes, you'll be leasing and paying every month, but you own nothing. In an ideal world, we should help our children get on the property ladder. But nobody helped me to get on the property ladder. But I got myself there. So maybe what is more important is that you teach your children to get their asses there. Nobody helped me with a dime to get on any property ladder. But I'm there. I put myself there. Yes, my children can also learn to do that. If I'm able to help them, great. If I'm not, they better get their backsides on there. My job is to explain the importance so they know. If you are able to help them to get on, great. If not, tell them to get their backsides there. That is how I knew. I was blessed by people who told me to get my backside here. Teach them so they can get their backsides on there. Yeah. If people had taught us about some of these things, I think a lot of us would have chosen differently. For many of you who watch me around my age, most of the information I'm sharing is probably not even relevant anymore. It's too late. Or at least they should learn to maintain it. Yeah. Yeah, that way we stop the cycle, Yaba. We do. For most of you, what I'm sharing with you is too late. Most of you will be trying to recoup a little bit. But this is information you should share with your children. The benefit system is one to be wary of. If you don't qualify, and if you can't afford to live without it, live without it. The labels that brings can be very difficult for you to shake. The labels can be very difficult to shake, especially in places like school. When the FSM marker is put on your child's register, it probably will stay with them for life. It would take one heck of a mammoth task to have it cleaned from the system so nobody sees it. It will always be there if you don't fight to remove it. Okay, well, it's never too late. We learn. What I mean is, some of us are in the traps, so it's an escape mechanism. Yeah, so get your backside there. I got my backside there. So my children can get their backside there too. It will be hard, for sure. It will need a lot of strategy. You are right though, yeah. FSM, Joe, it's free school meals. It is a British term. I know there is an American equivalent, there is a Canadian equivalent, there's an equivalent everywhere. These are the children whose parents claim they can't feed their children. And so the government feeds them in the school system. Free school meals. How it is sold to our people. Don't worry. You don't have to give them food now. Yes. Oh, no. We'll feed them breakfast and we'll give them lunch and a snack. And some parents, not understanding, will sign the form and don't realize that on their children's register, FSM is actually there. There's an FSM indicator on the register, so that every time a teacher is marking the register and they project the register, whilst the teacher is innocently taking who is present and who's absent, all the children can see who is FSM and who's not. Every teacher who signs into your child's register will see that mark. And yes, teachers are told to track those kids. So we all know our FSM kids. Yes, we do. Yes. And it's psychologically something you don't want your teacher to be aware of about your kid. You don't. There's no need for the teacher to have known that if you didn't go to the government to announce it. The fact that you don't have money doesn't need to be told to everybody, you know. Even the free school meals, you must be earning a certain amount. Interesting. But yes, FSM is something a lot of people track. Yeah. See, these are research pieces I'm about to share with you. This is how far people go to track these children. There are so many attainment reports closing the gap between FSM and non-FSM pupils in year 11 English. So in fact, the research says that children who are on FSM are not doing well in English. I wonder why. The issue, there are significant progress gaps between FSM and non-FSM pupils. There is a negative residual for pupils, FSM pupils in English. There is a need to raise attainment of pupils whose attendance fell beneath this and the whole school and department policy to improve outcomes for FSM pupils. Why do you think people are writing research on FSM children? Because FSM children traditionally are not doing well in schools. Why? Go back and think about it. Of course, it's for lower income families, yes? But some of us, we take the title very loosely without quite understanding what it means. So let me take you to this blog from 2015. It may help you. Yes, FSM, what it does and doesn't tell us about pupils' disadvantage. So you can go and read some of these articles, yeah? Who is eligible and who is claiming. Even if we define disadvantage narrowly as coming from a low-income family, the FSM, non-FSM disjunction doesn't neatly overlap with pupils who are more or less disadvantaged. So go read these things. It talks to you about the kind of disadvantage. Yeah, go read. You will understand a lot of things about some of these titles. Yeah, you will argue otherwise. Yes, please bring the argument and let's go. See, there are some kids, regardless of what impediments are in their way, will go ahead and do well. But as a person who works in schools, having seen this in practice is what informs what I'm saying to you about this FSM. The way this FSM indicator is explained and the way this FSM indicator works in practice are not the same. Look at somebody's thing. Free school meal entitlement and child poverty in England. I suggest some of you actually take me up and go read some of these articles. You should. Some of these things are official publications. I think those probably would be the better places to go to. Go read people's research and let them tell you about their findings about some of these things. It's scary. It really is scary. Oh yeah. I am highlighting these things again. I'm not looking to make anybody feel bad wherever you find yourself. I'm just hoping to create awareness that will help people to understand how these things work. Yeah. FSM has become an indicator of disadvantage. And so a lot of people will see the FSM indicator and they will read certain implications for your child. They will make certain assumptions about your attitude to your children's education that may not be accurate. So it is much better that your children don't have the tag if they don't need it. It is a lot better. It's a lot easier if your kid didn't have the tag in the first place. Then there is no threat of misapplication, really. Because even the outstanding school, what the FSM, because it gives them more funding. Now they use the funding. Well, look, schools are all about looking for funding. And yes, they will use children to get the funding. But the fact that the tag is made to you to make the funding, one does not even guarantee the funding will be used for you. I know a lot of special needs kids in England in particular who are statemented. And so schools claim money for the statements. But the TAs they are assigned are not even assigned to these children alone. They are assigned in groups. But the statements say that this child is actually entitled to one TA on their own. And especially where the parents don't know and the parents don't understand these things and the parents don't come fighting, the schools will make the best choice, the best decisions for themselves. They will take the money and they will spread it for the common good. But the money was never given for the common good. The money was never given for the common good. It was given for a specific kid. Yes, sometimes it's better not to reveal the cover of the book. Auntie, good evening. It's better not to show people the color of the book because once people know the color, they will make judgments based on the color. Don't show the colors. That's what I mean. It is better sometimes for some of these indicators not to be there on your child in the first place. Yeah, it is much better that your child walks in a clean slate, really. You don't want these labels for the kids. Auntie Yamajo, you don't want these labels for the kids. People are very eager to label your children so they can get more money, but not necessarily for the advantage of your child. Yeah. Sometimes children are tagged and has negative impact on them. I mean, how many times are these tags ever positive? Most of the time, the tags are negative. Of course. Yes, depending on what you know. If you can use it to your benefit, then do. Like I said, there are outliers in these FSM kids. But what I'm saying is that the labels can actually disadvantage them in their progress, especially as they are children and they are impressionable. A lot of them rely on how the teachers perceive their future to be inspired to go. If a teacher thinks your child can get the grade, the teacher will motivate the kid to get the grade. If a teacher decides your kid cannot get the grade, sometimes you will have to fight the teacher to get your child to get a chance. There are a lot of teachers who affect your children's life chances by some of these indicators, which tell them that your children are not worth investing energy in. Sadly, that's the truth. If you understand the decision making, especially in deciding which child we are going to focus on for intervention. Every teacher has certain outcomes, and they look at the children who are likely to help them to get to their outcomes. And yes, the children who are closer to the borderline, the children who are likely to make it, are the kids that the teachers will focus on. It's sad, but it's true. And yes, as a practicing teacher, I'll tell you sometimes our only option is this. We cannot take everybody. So we need, in our best judgment, to decide who is likely to benefit from the intervention, and so we do. Well, I don't know. You and your free kid who is underachieving at the mock exams, who also doesn't have a good attitude because he's fighting disadvantage in school, is not necessarily going to be any teacher's first prime candidate for intervention, is he? At the end of the day, one person with 25 children, they will have to make choices. All right? One person managing all these destinies will have to make choices. And yes, they will need indicators to make these choices. I'm just sharing it with you practically. We can cry here if we want, but that's how it is. Yes, some parents who are willing to challenge and contest will probably be able to overturn some of these behaviors and tendencies. But like I said, it's a whole lot easier when some of these labels are not there in the first place. Yeah, it is a whole lot easier. If you don't create a fight for yourself later, much easier. Of course, they become samples for social mobility research. Of course they do. Yeah. So she is one of the outliers. And you will tell me, you will confess, yeah, about how tough it has been to overcome these things and override. That's the very point I'm saying. Those who make it have to fight and scratch to get there. It is tough. Sometimes it's easier if we start on a level playing field. So those of you who don't need to get some of these titles for the sake of cheap lunch and cheap dinner, don't go and take the title, okay? If it's a 50-50 between taking the title and not taking the title, my advice would be not to take it. If you can survive without taking it, I will highly recommend you don't take it. Obviously, if you can't survive it, then it's impossible for you to do anything else, then take it. But if you have a choice, like most people who do these things have, most people who take these labels from my community, they have a choice. There's nothing wrong with the mom. She is not disabled. She is not incapacitated in any way. She just chooses not to work. And the father, there's nothing wrong with him. He's actually working. And no, he could have bought food for his own child, but he prefers to go sign so he doesn't pay for lunch, so he can build a mansion in his village. Those are the people I'm speaking to. Those who need it and take it, they need it and they take it. End of story. These systems are there for those who need it. My conversation is around those who don't and choose to do out of convenience or ignorance. If we can avoid getting to fight later, why don't we avoid it from the start? Exactly. The benefit system is there for people who need it. And yes, there are some people, for whatever reason, who need it. And if you need it, you take it. It is better for you to have a label than not to survive. So you take a label in preference. It is the best case scenario for you. You take it. I am discussing those who don't need it, who do it out of comfort and convenience. Those are the ones I'm discussing. Those who take these things and don't understand the ramifications later, and they do it out of convenience, it's stupid to make some of those decisions. That's. Well, if you need it, what can you do? If you need it, you take it. And now, if you need it, you take it. And whenever you can get the hell out of it, you do. Yes, you do. Anyway, today I am emotionally drained with this conversation because it's not a nice conversation, full stop. But I'm hoping that in this uncomfortable conversation, I have managed to get some of these things across that have been weighing on my heart the whole day. I hope that those of you who need to hear me have heard me. I hope more of you can be persuaded to go test some of these ideas that I threw here to help you improve your earning potential and to reduce your likelihood of being confined to state pension because the state pension situation is not looking nice. If you were hoping to live a lavish lifestyle on state pension, honey, Houston, we have a problem. We've had a problem for a while, Houston. We need to do something about this problem. If you are not working full-time, those who are working full-time are going to struggle with state pensions. Well, you do the math and tell me where your situation is right now. Some people are just irresponsible, and their irresponsibility creates unfortunate circumstances for their children. There are so many children who are born into so many circumstances that are unfair to them and only brought on by stupid, irresponsible parents. And that boils my blood. It does. It boils my blood. And I'd have been one of those kids who would have punched my mom in the face if she'd made some of those decisions, really. I'd have been one of those. I am one of those vocal people about these things. If you have deep pockets, benefits is chicken change. Why go fight for minimum wage when you could earn more? You know, when there is so much potential now for you to make money on some of these content creation, social media platforms could pay you much more than some. I don't know. I always work to extend my earning potential beyond what it was before. And so for me, staying on benefits has never made sense. It's chicken change. It has never made sense for me to leave my job to go stay on benefits. What for? What benefit? How much? What lifestyle could I have on it? Is why I haven't gone down that route. But I know a lot of people who could have also done better for themselves, but they are stuck in this trap. So that's why I wanted to discuss this. So forgive me if I have made your evening unpleasant, like I have made mine. But sometimes there are jobs that need to be done. They are necessary. Let me sum it up for you. If you haven't checked your state pension entitlement, go check it. If you haven't checked your national insurance gap and you are in the UK, go check it. You have until the 5th of April. Go check it. If you are not earning and you should be earning, fix it. It's true. These are some of the painful things about poverty. Yeah, they know no better. They do. They don't know any better. Yeah. What I'm going to say is good night to you. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your company. Thank you for your comments and for making this enjoyable. God have mercy. May God have mercy. So I pray tonight, may He have mercy on all of us. May He reveal unto those of us who need to know the precarious positions that we find ourselves. Go and sign up to wherever you live. Go to their pension websites and go check and see what your pensions are. Before this degenerates into other places right now, I am off. I'll see you in the morning, God willing. Good night, everyone.